friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Boomerang. I am Njeri, your personal development coach who looks at encouraging personal growth by looking at how relationships affect how you relate with yourself, with others, and the world around you. So last time we talked about stakeholders. Wasn't that an interesting topic last week? Wow, eh? So, after that conversation about the stakeholders, other questions started arising. Who are these stakeholders? What type of stakeholder should you have in your life? Who should you be listening to? When you are in a situation where you're so conflicted, who do you turn to for advice? Remember in the first example about the gentleman who had been in a relationship with a woman for 10 months, and then at some point he had a change of heart, and he decided he does no longer want to be with her because of her daughter? Yes, that situation sounded extremely unfair on the part of the man, what he was doing to the lady. But when the question arose, could there be other people who are influencing his decisions? Most likely. It's very important that when you're making life decisions, that you look for the right people to listen to. Here's a story of another man. So this man decided he wanted to get married, and he found this lady. And while they were courting, they started a business together. She was working, he was working. They put in about 50% into this business, and they looked at this business as the future of their marriage and the life that they want to build together. Fast forward, they get married. And while they were married, they said, okay, we need to formalize some of the things we're doing. Like, for example, can we incorporate our business so that now we can grow the business? Husband and wife sat down and agreed, okay, we are equal partners, everybody's 50-50, let's identify a lawyer. The wife, being the good wife she was, picked her friend lawyer and said, hey, my husband and I just got married and we've got this business that we would like to incorporate. Could you please come and offer us that service? I was like, sure thing. And so the couple went and they discussed what were their visions for this business, what they want to do, and they agreed this is an equal partnership, 50-50. And the lawyer proceeded. Remember, the lawyer was the friend of the wife. Very important point. Keep that in your mind. So the process was finished, and the husband says to his wife, go pick up the papers and then bring them back home, and then we can proceed on to open a bank account and all the things that you need to do for the business. So like the dutiful wife she was, quick into town, and says, okay, can I have a look at the documents? And she's flipping and saying, making sure everything is okay, everything is what they had agreed. And then she gets to the last page when she's looking at the shareholding. And to her surprise, her husband now has 90% ownership and she has 10%. So then she asked the lawyer, what happened? I thought we agreed 50-50. And the lawyer said, yeah, I think it will go out. And she's like, so what now? I think it is going to her husband. So she was like, I see. You don't want to talk about it, so let me go and ask my husband. So then she goes home and she asks, hey, sweetheart, what happened? I thought we agreed 50-50. Now I'm at 10%. Really? What happened? Then he said, well, you know, other night we had an argument. Yes. And I realized that in order for you to get 50-50 with me, I need to see a change in your behavior. And she was like, what? A change in my behavior? What does that have to do with the business? That was an argument we had 2 days ago. He said, this is what I have said and it is going to be what it is. So she resigned to the fact that there's nothing she can do to get this man to change his mind. So let's keep moving. Let's continue living. Let the business grow. Unfortunately, that incident was so traumatic for this lady that she felt her value in that marriage was only 10%. So in everything they did, she only put in 10%. Whatever happened with the business, she was only interested in it at a minimal level. Whether it made money or not, she just said, can you pay the bills? That was what she was concerned about. And it became an issue in that marriage because every time he wanted his wife to get enthusiastic about anything he was doing, she remembered, I'm only worth 10%. Whatever happens, my value in this marriage is only 10%. Unfortunately, that marriage came from bad to worse because you had one person who was completely unmotivated to do anything, and the other person getting extremely frustrated with this woman who doesn't want to do anything. Yet he was not linking it back to whatever happened at the beginning of the marriage, the 10% factor. As fate would have it, that relationship deteriorated to the point that it broke. Unfortunately, husband and wife got to the point where they decided they're just going to have to part ways. As a consequence, they ended up fighting over the custody of the children. And so, her husband went back to the same lawyer, the lawyer who he had tasked to do the incorporation of the company, the one of the 10%, went back to the same lawyer and said, you know what? My wife and I have decided we no longer want to be together. So we're in court battling over the children. And this lawyer went ahead, represented her husband. Following that, they put in a petition for divorce, and through this lawyer, he divorced his wife. So fast forward into the future, divorce has happened, custody matters have been settled. They meet up at some point, and his wife was curious and asked him, why did you reduce my shareholding to 10%? She still remembered that. And her ex-husband now decided to tell her the truth. He said, actually, the reason I reduced your shareholding to 10% is the lawyer advised me to do that. She was like, what? The lawyer advised you to do that? And I am the one who introduced the two of you? He said, yes, the lawyer advised me to reduce your percentage to 10%. He said, why? Well, the lawyer was of the opinion that if we ever disagree, then you will come for 50% of my property. She was like, 50% of your property. It is not our property. You never saw it as our property. It was yours. And because it was yours, this lawyer was acting in your best interest. So then she asked him, we broke up. Did I come for 50% of your property? No. So what was the point? You reduced my role to 10%. What's the moral of this story? You need to be very, very careful who you listen to. What was that lawyer feeding off? Insecurity of the husband. He feared losing his property, and he believed he would lose his property to his wife. I'm not saying that there are no relationships that end up that way. But at the point he did that, he introduced a fracture into that marriage. And that marriage lost the initial trust. There was no trust bond after that. Worse still is his wife lived in that marriage for whatever duration she was in that marriage for, not knowing who influenced that decision. So it's very, very important that you begin to look and ask yourself the question of sovereignty when you enter into a relationship. When you're making lifelong or life-changing decisions, you need to be sovereign. You need to practice some kind of self-governance. If you're not able to do that, and you find yourself doubting your decisions, seeking validation from other people, then we need to come back and ask, do you really know who you are? Do you really know what brings you satisfaction and joy? Because unless you identify that, then you cannot even dream up a future with anybody or anyone else that you want to do something with. So it's important that we come back and say, who am I within the context that I am in and in the larger picture of things? Who am I? What contribution am I making to this relationship? And what do I expect the other person to bring back into this relationship? And how can we work together to co-create things? It's very important that you do that. But unless you have dealt with your personal insecurities, most which are linked to childhood trauma, then this becomes very difficult to do. So again, I welcome you to join me on a journey down this rabbit hole and do the deep dive where we can begin to address these issues, looking at where the trauma happened in your life, where things were fractured in your own life, those fractures that happened in your childhood. We need to identify where it happened and what it was that happened, and begin to do the work of repairing from that point in time into your adulthood. We must take a journey into the past, because with every passing second, your present becomes the past. All we have is the future to build. So welcome to the deep dive. All information is in the link below. Click it, you'll go to our website, you'll get the details and the dates, and please register and join us on an exciting journey. In the meantime, may restoration be your portion. Peace